Hey, welcome to What's the Tea, the TransLink podcast. My name is John Jang. Here's what we're doing on this episode.
Off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. We hear he is the Wizard of Wiz, if ever a whiz there was.
We're stepping inside SkyTrain control, so let's tap in to What's the Tea.
The next station is
Welcome to What's the Tea, the TransLink podcast.
Okay, here's something that always shocks out-of-town visitors. The SkyTrain is a fully automated driverless system. It's been that way since 1985 when the SkyTrain originally launched. I mean, just to put things into perspective, the internet wasn't even publicly available until 1993. And the world's first cell phone, which weighed a whopping 2.5 pounds, had only just come out in 1983.
It's alright, 'cause I'm safe at the bill.
Hello, Zach Morris's phone.
So an entirely automated train moving thousands of people daily was a marvel then and still is today. But it still takes teams of trained professionals to make sure that the system is running as smoothly as possible every single day. The metaphorical brain of the SkyTrain system exists in the Operations and Maintenance Center at BC Rapid Transit Company in Burnaby. Inside the room known as SkyTrain Control, dozens and dozens of monitors are constantly reading the latest information on how the system is running. Information is steadily flowing in each and every second, and the humans working this control room analyze and interpret that information to know what's exactly happening across the network. Inside that control room is where I met with Ron Wainwright, the manager for rail operations support at SkyTrain, to learn more about the important work that goes on behind these doors.
Okay, Ron, so here we are inside what I would call like the brain of SkyTrain and the entire system. So how does this whole place work? I see a lot of monitors going on.
Right, the room is basically divided into, I would say, three sections. There's an ATC, which stands for Automatic Train Control. As you know, our trains are run by, or controlled by the computers. And we have a SCADA area where we control the power and propulsion. That's the electricity that feeds the power to our trains, makes them go. And then we have an area over here called the communications workstation. It's probably the one that the public have most interaction with. We make announcements from here during delays, rare delays that we have, but we make the announcements there. All the doors in our system are monitored, so if you go through a door, it causes an alarm, and they respond to that, make sure the right person is going in that door.
Right.
And then we have over 2,000 cameras in the stations, and they can have access to all of them to bring up if somebody falls on an escalator or something like that.
I see. You see, like that's the first thing you notice when you walk in here. So many monitors laid out. Now, some of them are for the systems you mentioned, but a lot of them are for the security cameras.
They are. Well, the mainline operators, the ones that are running the trains, there's two mainline operators. Three actually. One runs the Expo line, Waterfront to King George. Another from Clark to Lougheed, and then down through Sapperton and Braid. And then the other person is responsible for operating the section that was introduced as the Evergreen line, so from Lougheed out to Lafarge, and then the storage facility that we have out near Lafarge. So the mainline operators, the ATC operators, only get the platform cameras. Okay. And the cameras, there's one at each end of the platform looking in, and they can see pretty well the whole platform on that camera. It's very useful because they quite often see people have collapsed on the platform, or at times at night we get people sit on the platform edge with their legs hanging in, and they don't activate the emergency stop system, so the operators are able to respond to that and keep the trains from coming into the area.
Just making sure you're on top of safety, which is of course like the number one thing that we're trying to work towards. Yes. You mentioned ATC, which I know stands for Automatic Train Control,
right.
But
yes.
It also stands for air traffic control. This reminds me of like one of these ATC towers.
It is similar. It is very similar that way, and just like air traffic control, they have a lot of procedures that they have to follow to ensure safety, and we're the same way. Our procedure manual is very thick. So.
There's a lot of people working here on the floor right now. It's in the middle of the day. Like, is this usually how many people it requires for the system to run?
We carry the same number of people 24 hours a day. Each workstation has to be attended during the day and during the night. As a matter of fact, during the night we're busier. From about 12:30 until about 4:30 in the morning, we're passengers aren't on the system, but we are certainly busy because all the maintenance is done during the night. So we have railway equipment, trucks that drive out on the tracks. We have sometimes over 100 people in the tracks doing work. So we have to make sure that they're protected from trains and that they're not electrocuted, and that's where the SCADA person would be taking the power down for that sort of thing.
In fact, in one of the cameras right now, I can see there are maintenance teams on the tracks.
Yes.
They're doing some kind of work. Now, you don't need to divulge too much into the work they're doing, but clearly it also happens in the middle of the day, so you got to make sure, again, safety is the number one.
It does, yes. So they are guideway technicians, and they're doing an inspection, and a lot of inspection is easier to do at night and in the daytime, and it's better to do in the daytime, obviously, for optics. So what they are doing is they're going in and they're greasing the switch. You can, they are pouring a lubricant in between the switches so that when the switch moves, it has no problem. Any moving part needs a lubricant. So the control operator will find out the location that they want to go in. They'll put in ATC protection in there so that no train can come through, or in the case of them being in a switch, they use a different type of command for the switch. And that way a train could not go over the switch, or another operator in the room could not try and move the switch while the people are standing in there.
There's the visuals I'm seeing of each SkyTrain
moving
car
on the tracks, yes.
Yeah, and it's all laid out so you can see exactly how they're moving, which switch they're on. And
yeah, they're color coded. The yellow ones indicate that they're going the full length of the line, so from Waterfront to King George. The blue ones are turning off and going up to Production Way and turning around there. So different colors mean different things. At the end of peak service, when we're going from 69 trains down to about 45, there will be different colored ones indicating what station that train is going to come out of service at. So it's a good visual for the operators.
Sorry, you mentioned that the communications department, the team here, usually the ones that the public will maybe
hear the announcements during a delay will be the ones if they pick up an emergency telephone in a station, or if they push the intercoms located by the doors, that it'll be the person here that responds.
Ron, obviously, you know, the original SkyTrain line opened up in the late 80s for Expo 86.
Yes.
This system feels pretty modern to me. So what has that process been like to try and upgrade, to make sure that technology is keeping up with what you need it to?
The problem, too, is that technology goes so quickly that by the time you get it in, it's almost getting obsolete, right? So we're always looking for new technology. The Thales system that we have for controlling the trains has been around since day one for us. We've been told we're part of an organization called Comet, and we gather information from other systems around the world, learn from their mistakes, pass on stuff that we know that's good, and it's a good relationship. One of those things they've said is that Thales is an excellent provider and probably the best provider of automatic train control service. Some of the stations that monitor all the door alarms is about 5 years old, so we went for a system that we could customize that was better for us, because now we get a door alarm from a station. We can actually go onto the map and see which actual door it was, whereas some systems don't have that sort of technology. And a lot of it is just upgrading systems that have been around for a long time. Our next one to come out is the system that replaces, that we use to make announcements to trains.
I see.
That's in the process of being replaced. That's going to be replaced probably in January.
Okay.
Customers will probably notice a better quality type of announcement, and they'll also notice a bit more different type of announcement, because we also, as well as the operators making announcements, we will also be using text-to-talk and things like that as well, which will be coming along. So.
And just that's again for more like customer convenience and making sure that we're just trying to make sure that they get all the information.
They get as much information as possible.
So it really feels like, you know, when you're here, you're just communication has to be such a strong point. Like in the middle of you and I talking, I've been observing just how the team is functioning, and everyone has to really pull together.
A lot of communication is very important, especially safety-related stuff, because you find that over the years, safety incidents, communication was a big thing. Lack of communication was a big thing. So the operators know that. Operators, they work as a group. They're here 12 hours a day, 3 on, 3 off. So they become kind of like a family after a while. So they get to know each other well. So there's no problems with communications. This room, as you'll notice, is quite small. We're moving across the street to a new control center in a couple of years, twice as wide, twice as long. So that will accommodate expansions that we're expecting, not just to Langley and to Broadway, but also out to UBC and other further extensions up past 2050, that we're going to have the room to do
Right.
that. So,
Yeah, just future-proofing in a
yes,
sense.
that's right. Yeah, when we built it, we knew that there would be no point in having a room that you did all this work on and to develop, and it's obsolete by the time you build it, right? So we've left room for expansion.
It's that race against time at all times.
Always, yes,
because things are changing, things are growing, things
That's
are
right.
improving, so it's always trying to make sure you got a good handle on
Yes,
it. But
yeah.
it's good to know, like this room has gone through many decades of servicing the public dutifully, so it's still doing its job.
It is, yes. The operators will find it a little bit cramped, but that will disappear in 2 years' time. And
Royal Oak
okay.
outbound, 0 end GIMS. Royal Oak outbound, 0 end.
Okay, so the alarm that you heard her yelling out is a GIMS alarm. So at our stations, at the end of the platforms, there are posts. So if anybody walks off the platform and starts to walk down the tracks, we get an alarm at the communications desk. Communications operator acknowledges it and yells out to the mainline operator, because the mainline operator is the person controlling the trains.
Right.
So she announced to make sure that mainline operator knew. That mainline operator saw that there was a train approaching that area, so he set the emergency brakes on the train just in case a person had gone out there.
I see.
So now the communications operator, you might be able to hear behind, is now making an announcement to the train because it emergency braked. So letting them know the apology, the emergency brake, we're aware of it, and that the train's going to be moving.
And that announcement is only to that one train?
Just to that one train. If there were more trains involved, then it would be to more trains.
Okay. Yeah. And sorry, what is the GIM? It's an acronym. What is it?
Guideway Intrusion Monitoring System. Gotcha. So there are metal posts at the end of each platform edge. We used to have, we actually do still have end gates at the platforms, but the wind would blow them open. So this now detects any motion. It has to break 4 beams before it'll set off. So, and you see, she also brought the camera up to see the location, and actually we'd spotted that it was birds going through it at the time.
Oh, okay. So crisis averted.
Yeah.
Right.
So
okay.
we still, even though we saw birds go through the camera, we still send an attendant to check there to make sure that it wasn't something else, right?
Does Mother Nature do these things quite often?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The Millennium Line has a different type of emergency stop system. We have the beams in the tracks. So we're coming towards October and November now. We get a lot of leaves falling onto the tracks, which set those things off. So the Guideway staff get out at this time of the year in the nighttime, and they go and clean out those tracks to cut down on the number of trips we get from that.
But of course, one cannot make assumptions. So each time this thing happens, it has to be taken seriously.
That's right. We still always check it just in case it's someone in trouble and someone else has come on and saying, no, it's fine.
Okay.
Right. So we still check it in.
Now, as you heard, the control room is busy for a good reason. An automated system still requires that human touch to ensure that the service is safe for you, our customer. Now, when we come back, we'll sit down with Ron in the comfort of his own office to learn more about the secrets to running the SkyTrain. You're listening to What's the T, the TransLink podcast. Welcome back to What's the T, the TransLink podcast. My name's John Jang, in conversation with Ron Wainwright, the manager for rail operations support at SkyTrain.
So Ron, we just finished in the control room there with SkyTrain, busy, but it was fun to kind of be a part of that experience.
Yes.
Now we get a chance to be a bit more in a quiet environment, which is nice. When you mentioned that you're moving to a brand new OMC, a brand new control center, it feels like a brand new phone, and each phone has its own little new innovations.
Yes.
So my idea of what a new innovation is like if you're moving to a brand new control center, how does the system benefit? Like, what other changes are you going to see in the system if you're a customer, for example, and maybe you want to just take the SkyTrain one?
I think efficiency and how we'll be able to handle service delays will be improved in the new control room. Certainly it's needed for expansion regardless.
Since we're talking about delays and in the event that maybe it does happen, what is happening in the control room, and how does it kind of trickle down where the train does eventually arrive, but what needs to happen in order for that to kind of get to that point?
It so much depends on the nature of the delay. We get a lot of medical delays now since COVID. They seem to have gone up, which we have a person on the train who's having a seizure or something like that, and they can't be moved. So we're out of luck with that right away. We have to keep that train at that location and work around it. So immediately the communications operator is first contacting the ambulance, get the ambulance there, and then making announcements to the trains, telling them that they're going to be held for a few minutes while we decide what the alternate service is. There are some alternate services that we can do that will run, but the passengers would be completely confused as to what was going on. So we have to make it workable for the customer as well. So once that's done, we set that thing up, and then we start letting the trains go. Single tracking is the big one, where trains run on the same track on both directions. is usually what it reverts to. So communications will be making the announcements, we'll be sending out the information to the other stakeholders at TransLink. Customer information needs to know TCOM if we need a bus bridge, that sort of thing too. So it's establishing, part of the room is establishing the site where the incident is going on and ensuring that it's safe for the staff and any customers that might still be there. And the rest of it is working on getting the rest of the trains moving as quickly as possible.
And then STAs, they play a role as well?
They're usually the first ones to tell us of a medical emergency. It's an intercom, and if someone tells us on the intercom there's a medical emergency, we still don't know the nature of it. Right? We can try and get some information, but by the time we get that, the STA's already been dispatched, is on the train and giving us the real information that we need to know, that we need to tell the ambulance.
I'm glad you mentioned STAs, because I think, in the big picture and how everything sort of operates and how it all works, they play a crucial role in the operations of all this. So control room, we were in there, we saw how the team was working and the kind of environment that they're working at. I kind of would describe it as the control room is the brains of the operation and the STAs are the eyes and ears. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah, the STAs are the eyes and ears. We rely on information from them on a situation. We can look on the cameras, but you can't see everything that's going on, completely. And if an attendant tells us that something is not safe then to do, then we will listen to them and follow that. They are the face of SkyTrain to the customer as well. So, and I think public doesn't really realize all the different things they do. It's not just security is only a minor one of it, but information, first aid. They can operate the trains if we need to. Train fails, and quite often they drive them. They do a lot of troubleshooting on the trains as when the system's running. So
they're the first line of customer information, interaction, and also the first line of safety, really.
Yes, they are.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a very crucial role. And one thing that we're trying to accomplish maybe with by people listening to this podcast is, how people when they get off the bus, they'll say thank you to the bus driver?
Yes.
Let's try and get into motion people saying thank you when they get off the SkyTrain.
They would certainly be appreciated, yes.
I think so. And so we're just trying to get that movement started if there's any potential. If you are just standing at a SkyTrain station, what you see is different from what the average customer see. The average customer is just going to see train, rail, stairs, tap in, tap out.
Right.
What are you seeing, and what are some of the changes that you could anticipate in the future?
Okay, well, looking at the platform, into the tracks, a standard rail, like all trains have. In the middle of that, there's a wide metal rail that is called we call it the limb reaction rail. So our trains have linear induction motors, and they create a magnetic force that pushes against that rail either to propel the train or to slow the train down. But that is what we use for propulsion. The linear induction motor has some wonderful benefits for us. First of all, apart from the fan to keep it cool, there's no moving parts on it. So failure rate is way lower and maintenance is a lot lower on it. The second thing is because unlike a car or a regular train, the wheels turn the vehicle and make it go. With a train system, because it's a metal wheel on a metal rail, it slips a lot, so they can only go up a certain amount of grade, whereas the linear induction motor, those wheels just run freely. And so we can go up a steeper grade than most conventional rail systems.
Is that what makes the iconic sound when the SkyTrain, the Expo line?
It's the phase motors of them changing, yeah. And because of that, linear induction motor, our trains are a bit, if you want to call, sportier. They've got a faster acceleration and deceleration than most railways do. Canada Line's a great system, but you'll notice their trains accelerate out a lot more slowly than ours do. And that's just the difference in a linear induction motor.
I see. Okay. And then when you mention like the GIMs, we are going to have to obviously move those, as you sort of mentioned.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, the new trains are 5 meters longer, so 2.5 meters on each end of the platform will stick out. And if anything blocks those GIMs, they will send an alarm to the control room saying that someone's gone out into the tracks. So we have to reposition them so they're not doing that continually. Yeah.
And will the stations change themselves? I know that there is going to be work done on stations to eventually be able to handle longer train cars when the Mark 5s
Yeah, most of the stations are having the GIM posts removed or moved further out. There are a few emergency exits, probably about 5 or 6 stations that have the emergency exits moved a bit further away for access for the trains.
And there's something. because I need you to tell me what this is, but people keep mentioning pies when it comes to how SkyTrain stations are working. What is pies? Because I get hungry when I hear it, and I'm sure that's not the case.
PIES is actually more than, it stands for Platform Intrusion Emergency Stop. So it's the emergency stop system, so that if something falls into the track or somebody falls into the track, it will emergency brake a train that's near the station, or if it's coming towards the station a distance away, it'll stop outside the station. It will, when the PIES are activated, it will close the track, that ATC protection we talked about. The track will go red, and if a train is nearby, it'll emergency brake. The PIES are different depending on which line you ride on. If you ride on the Expo line, you'll notice when you look into the track there are some red plates in there. And around the red plates there is cabling. And so if somebody falls into the track, that cable gets moved and it changes the resistance in the cable and sends off a signal to the emergency stop system to activate. On the Millennium Line, you have light beams that go the length of the track inside the station, and if anything breaks that light beam, then it sends a message to the emergency stop system to activate an emergency stop.
I know during the winter this system can be a little tricky because there's a lot of things that get onto the railway that honestly it triggers the system, and we don't want that happening all the time.
But in the winter, both the systems are affected by it. GIMS is affected by snow falling. If the flakes get big enough and heavy enough, we start to get trips of the GIMS system. And if we get enough, then we start getting the platforms attended, and we tell the SDAs, call us if you get a real GIMS alarm. And the SDAs know when they get a GIMS alarm because a horn goes off in the station. It's a different sounding horn when the PIES go off, so they know the difference between the two. The PIES system is usually a buildup of snow is our problem on both the Expo and the Millennium. This time of year, though, Millennium Line leaves can be a problem, so it's extra maintenance needed by our staff to go out and clear the leaves out of those stations.
Right. Yeah. And again, safety, so you can't ignore, even when it happens once during the winter, you know you got to go and check it, make sure it's all clear.
That's right, yeah. Some of the systems around the world will rely on cameras to, if they get an intrusion, they will look on the camera and go, okay, I saw somebody go in, they've climbed out, it's obviously clear. We won't do that. We'll accept a slightly longer delay just to ensure that we didn't miss. Nobody wants to say a track is clear and it's not.
Right.
We'll live with that.
Right.
On there.
What's your favorite thing about working at SkyTrain?
People. Great bunch of people. People in the control room. Everyone works together as a team. I haven't worked in the control room for a while, but I still see guideway technicians out there who know me by name and will greet me and come over and chat to me and things like that. So, as much as we've expanded, we're still a very tight-knit group.
And what's one takeaway you wish listeners would leave this conversation with, listening to what you've had to say about how the SkyTrain control room works, how the whole operations really comes down?
I guess the only thing is that everyone really, if we have a big delay, it's frustrating to the customer, but I can guarantee you that everyone in that room and everyone out on the line is doing their very best to get that situation resolved as quickly as possible. We would much prefer it to be where there's nothing going on and the trains are all running normally than having to deal with an emergency or a problem with a piece of equipment like that. So everyone is working to get it cleared up. We're very conscious of how delays affect people. It's a 3-minute delay on a SkyTrain. You could miss your bus by 3 minutes, and if your bus runs every hour or half hour, then we've affected you more than that, right?
Right, yeah. So just understanding and patience that we're all sort of in the same boat.
Yeah, that's right. And just about all the people that work in the control room are ex-SkyTrain attendants, so they're used to dealing with understanding how failures on the system can affect the public.
People may not realize how good we actually have it here in Vancouver until you leave. And then you go somewhere, maybe it's for school or for work, whatever it may be, and then you realize, dang, I kind of missed that SkyTrain because it just performed.
Yes, and I think a lot of some of the criticism maybe of SkyTrain is when it has the delays because we've got such lofty expectations of it. We expect that in rush hour train's going to come every 2 minutes, and if it's 3 minutes and there's no train, we're going, what's wrong with SkyTrain? Right? We have a on-time performance is over 96%. So for North America and Europe, that's huge. In Asia, that's not so great because they go all out and they overstaff to make sure that sort of stuff doesn't happen. But by European standards and North American standards, it's ridiculous. New York's at 75% on-time performance. So.
And people always talk about the New York subway as like one of the more iconic systems. And maybe it's iconic for different reasons, but 75 to 96 is a big step.
Big step, yeah. So, and then I remember working out as an STA, and people would say, well, where's the train? And I go, oh, it's coming. And you can hear it coming, and it's late. It's 30 seconds late. Oh, yeah. Things happen.
It is late by definition, but come on. Right?
I know. Yeah. And we used to measure delays anything more than 2 minutes, and we went to other systems around the world when we joined this Comet group, and they were saying 2 minutes. That's a bit tight. We don't usually measure that closely, so we've gone up to 3 minutes. So that we can at least compare our statistics with them a bit better.
We are standing at the precipice of major growth and change for the SkyTrain system. Rail expansion, new maintenance facilities and control rooms, even brand new SkyTrains. All of it will require hard work, proper funding and support, and patience as these changes are implemented over time. But it's very clear that the future for SkyTrain is a bright one. My thanks to our friends at BC Rapid Transit Company for helping us with this interview, the incredible team working at SkyTrain Control, Ron Wainwright, and the entire team at SkyTrain for allowing us to visit. My thanks to producer Alan for technical and logistics support, and you, as always, for listening and subscribing. My name is John Jang, and until next time, have a safe trip.